Hello guys, Nick with PhoneArena here, and you're watching our comparison between the Sony Xperia Z1 and the Sony Xperia Z1 Compact. Now, it's probably not that big of a surprise that these two phones have quite a lot in common. They share the same OmniBalance design that's typical for Sony smartphones. They're both watertight and very elegant premium devices with their metal and glass constructions. And on top of all that, they pack the hardware specs we've come to expect out of a high-end Android device. Size, however, is the key factor that sets them apart. The Xperia Z1 right here comes with a 5-inch screen, and it's obviously the chunkier one of the two, while the Z1 Compact is physically smaller as it is equipped with a 4.3-inch display. Of course, there's more that makes these two phones different from one another, so let's dive further into it and check them out in detail.
The Sony Xperia Z1 Compact is a phone that lives up to its name. It looks and feels just like a smaller Xperia Z1, with the only design difference between them being the different arrangement of the ports on the sides. That's a great thing, of course. The Sony Xperia Z1 is a very likable smartphone, and the Xperia Z1 Compact feels just as premium in the hand. Their sleek and solid bodies are built of high-quality materials, mostly glass and metal. Overall, both smartphones are worthy of admiration. Since it is smaller, the Sony Xperia Z1 Compact is very suitable for single-handed operation, and we love how it fits comfortably in pockets of all sizes. As for the Sony Xperia Z1, it is thinner, but much heavier and harder to handle because of its dimensions. Both the Sony Xperia Z1 and Z1 Compact are designed to withstand dust and water damage. That is why all ports, with the exception of the 3.5mm headphone jack on top, are sealed by removable flaps. Thankfully, these don't stand out much and blend well with the shape of the phones. On the right sides of the two phones are located their identically designed physical buttons. On both devices we see a volume rocker, a power key, and a two-stage camera shutter. The power key is easy to reach, and having a camera shutter is a nice perk that few other phones have to offer, but the volume rocker could have been a bit larger and more clicky. The Sony Xperia Z1 comes with a 5-inch triluminous display. Its resolution, no surprise, is 1080 by 1920 pixels. On the Xperia Z1 Compact, we see a smaller 4.3-inch IPS display with a resolution of 720 by 1280 pixels. In other words, the Z1 Compact has less pixels per inch compared to the Z1. With its larger screen, the Xperia Z1 is more suitable for a number of multimedia-related activities, watching videos or photos, playing games, or browsing the web, for example. The display on the Xperia Z1 Compact, however, looks better overall. We like its better viewing angles, and its very lively colors are more pleasing to the eye. A cool extra feature that you get with the Sony Xperia Z1 Compact is glove mode, which you can activate when needed. It boosts the sensitivity of the touchscreen enough for it to detect input through light fabrics. The Sony Xperia Z1 doesn't offer an extra sensitive touchscreen. To no surprise, the user interfaces on the Sony Xperia Z1 and Xperia Z1 Compact are nearly identical, both in terms of functionality and appearance. The two phones share the same lock screen, the same set of widgets, a similar drag-down notification panel with toggle buttons on top, you get the idea. Software-wise, one of the very few differences between the two devices is that the Sony Xperia Z1 Compact ships with Android 4.3 out of the box, while the Xperia Z1 is still on Android 4.2.2. Both should get Android 4.4 KitKat eventually. Sony's custom interface isn't perfect, but it doesn't disappoint either. Android has undergone some serious modifications, and the result is a consistent, unified experience across every menu and every app. We like the subtle animations and the transparency effects which bring the UI to life without being distracting. In terms of functionality, we appreciate having the mini apps at our disposal. The on-screen keyboard loaded on the two Xperias is one of the most customizable Android keyboards that we've come across, and it's easy to use too. Because of its width, the Sony Xperia Z1 Compact is suitable for single-handed typing, while the Xperia Z1 is easier to type on using two thumbs. A Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 is powering both Xperias with its 4-Crate 400 CPUs running at 2.2 GHz. Needless to say, performance is stellar regardless of which phone you pick. Interestingly, the Z1 Compact outruns its bigger brother when it comes to running graphically intensive applications because of its lower screen resolution. This advantage is negligible, however, as even the heaviest games on the Google Play Store run perfectly fine on the Xperia Z1. 2 GB of RAM are present on both the Xperia Z1 and the Xperia Z1 Compact, which is a sufficient amount ensuring that multitasking issues are non-existent. 16GB of file storage is available on both the Xperia Z1 and the Z1 Compact. Of course, some of that is occupied by the operating system, so the actual storage space they have to offer is around 12GB. That's not a terribly low amount by any means, but heavy users might want to provide themselves with extra space with the help of a microSD card. Chrome is Sony's web browser of choice and it's preloaded on both Xperias. It gets its job done pretty well, pages load fast, scrolling is smooth, and you can enjoy the app's many perks, such as the built-in data compression and the option to have tabs and bookmarks synchronized across devices. Thanks to the higher resolution and larger screen size, however, web browsing is a more pleasant experience on the 5-inch Xperia Z1. It is really cool that with the Sony Xperia Z1 you get a 20.7 megapixel camera, and the very same snapper comes on the Xperia Z1 Compact as well. Unsurprisingly, the camera software on the two phones is identical too. By default, the phones are set to Superior Auto mode, which takes 8 megapixel photos. The mode is as simple to use as it gets, since there is no need to tweak any settings whatsoever. Those who need to have more control over the image are free to switch to manual mode. It gives access to some image settings and allows you to take photos in full 20.7 megapixel resolution. We're happy to report that the photos taken with the Sony Xperia Z1 and Xperia Z1 Compact look great. Even if you stick to using just the default auto mode, you'll be getting high-quality, detail-rich images with accurate natural color tonality. Surprisingly, we noticed that the photos from the Xperia Z1 were sharper and more detailed than those from the Z1 Compact, but we'd call this difference in quality negligible. Taking clear and detailed photos indoors is also a piece of cake for both Xperias. The result is lots of detail in the shots, a tolerable amount of digital noise, and very natural color balance. At night, however, their photos turn out not as good as we wish they were. They're sometimes unexposed or with messed up color accuracy. Both phones can shoot 1080p video at 30 frames per second. The lack of support for shooting video at 60 frames per second or at 4K resolution is disappointing, however. Still, their videos look pretty good overall. Not the best we've ever seen, but smooth and detailed enough to be enjoyed. Sound in their videos is loud and clear. The Sony Xperia Z1 and Xperia Z1 Compact offer the very same music player. It is called Walkman, and it's one good-looking and extremely functional piece of software. Of course, you get widgets for your home screen, lock screen controls, and equalizer that you can tune to your liking. The Sony Xperia Z1 is a good phone to watch videos on. The display looks good and it's big enough so you can even watch full-length movies on it. With a smaller screen, the Sony Xperia Z1 Compact isn't an ideal phone to watch videos on, but it is okay to watch a short video on it every once in a while. Phone calls sound slightly better on the Sony Xperia Z1 Compact. It has a loud, clear-sounding earpiece and a high-quality microphone ensuring that our voice sounds natural on the other side of the line. The Xperia Z1 is also ideal for making phone calls, but its sound quality isn't quite as great as on the Xperia Z1 Compact. Since the Z1 Compact is smaller, it shouldn't be surprising that it has a smaller battery. While the Xperia Z1 packs a 3000 mAh unit, the cell in the Compact has a capacity of just 2300 mAh. But the Xperia Z1 Compact has lesser power requirements because of its smaller display, so the difference in battery capacity shouldn't bother you much. According to Sony, the Xperia Z1 Compact should last through 18 hours of talk time on 3G. The Xperia Z1 in comparison delivers 15 hours of 3G talk time.
Ultimately, it is the size factor that's going to influence a potential buyer who is torn between these two phones. The Xperia Z1 Compact is for those who would appreciate owning a phone that would fit in any pocket and a phone that they can easily operate with one hand. But don't let its small footprint fool you, as the Sony Xperia Z1 Compact is by no means any less capable than the Xperia Z1. After all, it comes with the same powerful processor under the hood and an identical top-notch camera in its back. Of course, for those who just cannot live with a smaller than average screen anymore, think people who play a lot of games or often watch videos on their phone, there's always the larger Sony Xperia Z1. After all, its bigger high-resolution screen is a huge asset when it comes to multimedia consumption. These factors aside, both the Sony Xperia Z1 and the Z1 Compact are great high-end phones. There's really a lot to like about them, and whichever you pick, chances are you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching our comparison between the Sony Xperia Z1 Compact and the Sony Xperia Z1. To learn more about these great phones, just visit our website phonearena.com.